All right, everyone. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. I think a lot of people have joined the webinar thus far, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome. Today we are joined by Sennheiser. Very excited to have Scott Houston in the building, not our building, but in his own building. Scott, you're muted, but if you want to go ahead and say hi there, feel free.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, and look forward to our little presentation today.
Awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation here. We can go ahead and get started. All right. Fantastic. So yes, today we are going to go over creating an integrated audio experience with Phoenix Audio Technologies and Sennheiser Electronics. So if you're expecting to learn about this, you are in the right place. Now today you're going to be joined by myself. I'm Ryan Root, the Director of Marketing here at Phoenix Audio. I'm joined by Zach Flanagan, our Head of Direct Channel Sales. And as I just mentioned previously, Scott Houston, the Field Sales Engineer at Sennheiser. Zach, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Hey, I'm Zach, Head of Direct Channel Sales. Thank you for having me on, Scott. Thank you for joining. And I will be discussing a little bit about the benefits of kind of the Stingray into this overall solution, which is a fantastic solution. We wish we could have joined you downstairs. We actually had a TeamConnect and a Stingray down there, but we are moving offices. So that room is no longer, it's just an empty room.
Right,
so we can't do anything. This
is the last webinar that will be held in this office.
Yeah, so apologies for that. None of the moving people seem to care about our plans. And they tore the room down yesterday, 2 days earlier than expected. But here we are, nonetheless. So the Stingray, to give you the quick pitch on that, is our DSP solution. And the TeamConnect, which Scott will talk about, is a microphone array that can be paired with ours quite brilliantly. And we'll talk more about that. To give you the overall pitch, or the elevator pitch on the Stingray, it is for a customer or an integrator that wants something that is more simple to install. I mean, it does most everything a DSP is going to do, right? It accepts the microphones, some line level microphones, auxiliary. It has a built-in VoIP line, analog line, USB. Some of the features it has that you might see elsewhere is a built-in power amplifier, which helps. And then outside of that, there's no programming. So I've said it a million times, and most people still are confused what that means, but there's no programming. So the setup time, I like to say it's under 5 minutes, but honestly, once you've done it, I could set this thing up from our web GUI in probably less than 60 seconds. And that is not an exaggeration. So yeah, let's kick this thing off.
Yes, and since I'm the marketing guy, I just want to shout out that we have just created a customer story that talks about the Stingray being integrated into a very large room. So go check that out on our YouTube or social channels. Now I'm going to hand it over to Scott. He's going to talk a little bit about this.
Awesome, thank you. And I do have to apologize. We're having some construction done in our building, kind of right behind me. So if you hear some drilling noises, pay no attention. But I'm hoping that it's also kind of showing off some of the features of the microphone. That even though it's very loud from the outside, I'm hoping you may not hear much of it at all. So yeah, going into our TeamConnect Ceiling microphone. So this is a microphone solution, obviously, for kind of fixed installations into boardrooms, conference rooms, something along those lines. You might be able to see from the picture right there, so that little square with the X through it, that's what the microphone looks like. For those of you that can see my video screen, that is the microphone right above me with 4 green lights. I'm going to try to zoom in on it a little bit. And here we do have it flush mounted into our ceiling. So this way you're free of all of your wires, laptops, any kind of, those boundary mics that you might have on there, those gooseneck mics. So this way now you have more room for your tablets or note-taking or food and beverage, possibly. So this way you're getting a nice, clean-looking installation.
Hey, Scott, we actually do have a question for you from Steve. I know the answer to this, but I'll give it to you. Is there a Dante solution in the pipeline for existing systems that they have out in the wild?
Yes, and we're kind of jumping on that a little early. But I will answer it. So right now we do have a second generation of the microphone that is set to be coming out, I believe, sometime in the second quarter, maybe third, or sometime along the summer, and that will have Dante on there, as well as power over Ethernet. Those are the two main changes. Otherwise, the physical look of the microphone, the analog microphone connection, and dimensions, all of that stays the same. So it's just those two new features. Yes.
Awesome. And another question, it's twofold. They were wondering how high the ceilings are in your room, and if there is a kind of it looks like a preferential height of the ceiling for your ceiling array.
Yep. So ideally, you want to be 10 to 12 feet from the floor.
Okay.
Is at about 12, some kind of right in between. I think the 11 with the drop ceiling, the way we have it set up here. So at that height, and you want to kind of have it at the center of where your participants would be. So here we have it right in the center of our large table. You wouldn't necessarily want it in the center of the room, because if all of your participants kind of sit off to one side, you'd want it more along those lines of where the users are. And we're covering up to 660 square feet of audio. So we kind of have that big 360 degrees. So for a room, this is about, I'd say kind of just over 20 and about 14 feet wide in some areas, a little bit more narrow. And we'll cover this whole room fine, even as I kind of walk off camera here a little bit. So now I'm in the kind of farthest corner, not speaking any louder or softer, and should be still picking me up just fine.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Oh, it looks like, okay, one more question. This one is on the Stingray. How do you set up the Stingray? So I mentioned earlier the web GUI. So you just find the IP address and it'll take you to our web GUI. You can set up the Stingray there, and you can actually also set up the Stingray on the front panel. So there's an LED display, and you can set up the entire thing from the front panel. Quick note, when setting up the Stingray with the Sennheiser ceiling array, default is our preferred setting. So there is virtually no setup, right? Just adjust kind of your speaker volumes where you want them, and then you're done.
Ideal environments here, just to reiterate, medium to large size conference rooms are ideal. Rooms where table microphones are not an option. You want to keep a clean table environment. We've seen, lately we just worked with an architect company, and they have blueprints on the table all the time. So they don't want any, speaker phones sitting on there. This is a great option to get those off the table. And it works great with Zoom and Skype for Business.
To go beyond, too, with the flexibility of the unit for everybody watching, and the flexibility with the Stingray. So one of the things that's so fantastic about the Sennheiser Stingray is it only takes up one line input. There is 4 unique line inputs on the Stingray. So you could essentially cover 4 of those rooms that Scott's in with one Stingray. Because it would each microphone would go into one input, and beyond that, with the Stingray's ability to do zoning, let's say Scott was in that room right there, and let's say they were side by side with kind of collapsible walls or walls that could open up and create larger rooms. We could do that as well with the Sennheiser ceiling array.
Zach, can you just want to run through some of those Stingray standout features, and then we'll hand it off to Scott, and he can run through his.
Yeah, it looks like I went ahead and got ahead of myself, as I usually do, but I love to reiterate things, so that's fine. So there is no programming with the Stingray. You simply go in and you adjust your sensitivity level, and you adjust your speakers, and then you get to walk away from the unit. If you are using the Sennheiser ceiling array, I mentioned this before, but we do prefer default setting. It seems to work best through all of our testing and certifying the product. Use the web GUI or use the front panel to set up the unit. I actually mentioned zoning as well, so we do support zoning, and we can daisy chain with the Stingray. You can daisy chain up to 15 of them. I don't know what scenario you would need 60 Sennheiser ceiling arrays. I would love to see the purchase order come through from a selfish standpoint, because I am the sales guy. So by all means, yes, order the 15 Stingrays and the 60 Sennheiser ceiling arrays to cover your football stadium. But probably not going to run into too many use cases like that. So I don't foresee a bunch of daisy chaining with the Sennheiser ceiling array, just because they're able to cover such a large space as is, only using one input while doing that. And then lastly, we do support bridging between different interfaces.
Awesome. And for the Ceiling Connect, again, you have a analog microphone output, so very easy to connect right to the Stingray. And again, with that, we can also do daisy chaining, and with the second generation, also daisy chaining via Dante. So the actual connections for this, you have one analog mic line and one power supply line, which is the one we have now. Actually, and we're looking to install our second generation into our office once we get them too. So we're all patiently waiting for that to happen.
Awesome.
Inside this little square, we have 29 omnidirectional microphone capsules. These are actually based off of our award-winning MKE2 capsule, which for anyone that has watched a broadcast of any kind, whether it's a news broadcast, sports broadcast, or been on Broadway, it's those little lapel microphones that they wear on the lapel of their jacket or a shirt. So those same ones are used in musical applications on Broadway or sports applications like that, and are fantastic. And then through our built-in DSP and other controls, we're able to form those so that it can follow me around the room, or track a second or third person that might be speaking in the same board meeting, for example, but also smart enough with noise canceling, so we're blocking out all of the HVAC that is running. So we have the heat set on very high here in Connecticut because it's freezing. We just got a huge ice storm. It was 0 degrees yesterday. So I don't know if you can hear the HVAC going, but it is going pretty good right now, along with the drilling that's happening right now in the background. So even with me talking, a lot of that should be removed from it. So I hope that's the experience happening over there. It is pretty loud.
Sorry, Scott.
How's it for you guys out there?
I was gonna, I spent the weekend in Breckenridge, so it was 18, so that was pretty wild for us. But it's funny because we also have our HVAC going, but it's actually dumping out air conditioning right now. So I guess this is the differences, right, between the West Coast and the East Coast. Two different worlds.
Totally.
Scott, we'll hand this one to you.
So with the microphone, again, we are universal in this aspect. So it all depends, again, really what you want to connect to, what your hub will be for your room. So in this instance, we'd say that the Stingray device, that would be connected to whatever platform you have, whether it's Skype for Business or Zoom meeting or WebEx, whatever your platform is that you're connecting to that Stingray, and then that's handling all of your input and output for your TeamConnect Ceiling microphone or the bookshelf speakers or installed ceiling speakers into the room. Everything's happening there. And again, it's that seamless connection between those devices that make this all happen.
Perfect. Talk about the variations of these three rooms.
Absolutely. So again, every room is going to be unique. It's not so with this microphone, we do kind of have a one size fits all. So if you have a super tall ceiling, let's say 25, 30 feet, kind of has that industrial look, like the picture all the way to the right, that you would want to have that microphone suspended. And it does include the suspension cables to make that happen. So you can hang it, again, you want to have it right around that 10 to 12 foot from the floor, not from your table. So when your table's here, but we have 12 feet from ceiling to floor, you want to write at that, 12 foot if possible. It's great. And even the ceiling style will change. If it's not a tile ceiling, like in the picture all the way to the left, or what we have here, we were able to drop it right in. It is a 2x2 setting, or a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter, essentially. It also comes with the brackets to go around the outside to fit different sizes of that paneling too. Or you could just have it mounted like that middle picture if you had a lighting structure or something else that would be above the table. Again, going from the opposite end of that board there that's in the middle where it would be screwed in and attached to be mounted there. And then all the wires are hidden up above.
Perfect. Zach, let's talk about the Stingray variations.
Absolutely. Oh, looks like we have one more question. So looks like Claire wants to know how tall Ryan is. So I'll let Ryan take this one.
I don't know how this is related.
It's pretty important that we cover this.
I'm 6'8".
Okay, so it's actually really important. I'm glad you asked because I want to make sure you guys know that I am not that short. I just look short sitting next to Ryan. So let's make sure everybody's aware of that. So the install variations for the Stingray, it is a one use, so it's rack mountable, take up one space. That picture to that first picture on the left there, there's an MT720 above that. It won't be relevant in these installs, but we do have an XLR adapter for a lot of our clients like to use. I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some of our clients that like to use XLR microphones, kind of an older style, but you know, some people love it. It's easy. So we have an adapter created for them. Some of the flexibility and some of the things our customers love right now is the ability to put the Stingray behind a monitor. So because it has the built-in power amplifier and it runs the interfaces they need it, and with the size of a PC and Intel NUC or something, you can fit everything behind the TV where you already have power, cables run, hopefully network. So that way you create these like very clean, like low profile setups without having to have a rack in the room. And then you tuck it all away cleanly, nicely behind the TV. Here you can see a daisy chain Stingray with the XLR adapters behind a double monitor setup. And I promise the end game of that install was gorgeous with these two flat screens. And last but certainly not least, simple as putting it in a credenza, right? Throw it in a credenza below the TV and go in and have your meetings. It just doesn't take up a lot of space.
Perfect. All right.
Is this one for myself?
No, this is for Scott.
Oh, Scott.
And with our microphone, we did design this to be kind of a plug and play solution. As Ryan and Zach mentioned before, that once you have everything set up, you don't, or the default settings are the preferred right out of the box. Same with us. We do have a software that will go alongside our microphone, but 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be that necessary. We do have some manipulations you can do with the mic, such as pickup angle. So here we're at 170 degrees from the mic. You can drop that all the way down to 90. So again, depending on the room setup, you may want that angle to be a little more sharp and not pick up everything. Or the microphone input sensitivity. But again, working with this DSP, that's not going to be a function you would necessarily want to change. And so this way, you set it, you forget it, and there's no need for constant maintenance on it. There's no need for someone to go in and manipulate the software for every meeting or every setup. And this way, it just kind of always works, always on.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. And we do have another question. As far as somebody want to know if we'll provide access to the presentation deck. They really like the wall mounting of the Stingray, which actually also I want to mention the wall mount for the Stingray is an accessory. It's very, very inexpensive, but it is an additional accessory. So the wall mounts don't come out of the box. And then Ryan is responding and letting you know that yes, we can provide the presentation deck. Is that going to be automatically sent to everybody or just by request, right?
Yes, I will have our marketing coordinator, Claire, send it over.
Sweet.
Right after.
There you go. Awesome.
Cool. Let's jump in. Guys, that concludes our very brief webinar, but I hope you got a good idea of what the Stingray and what the TeamConnect Ceiling mic can do for your medium to large size conference rooms. If you have any more questions, feel free to, you can ask a question here on this webinar. There's also a chat. You can also contact us via the information there on your screen. Looks like we do have a question that just came in. And Zach, you want to take this one?
You know, there can certainly be a bundle or a kit available. I am unaware where those will be accessible, but if you are interested in the Stingray and the Sennheiser mic, depending on where you purchase from, I head our direct channel sales. I am happy to create a special kit for that. Ingram Micro already has a kit set up if you are set up through Ingram. So there are multiple avenues to get the combined kit. And I did want to mention one more thing. So here at Phoenix, we strive, or I think we successfully complete our mission of having simple to use, easy to install, high quality audio for any collaboration space. And what's so cool about Sennheiser is, unbeknownst to us, when they were creating this product, they have the same mission. So pairing their product with our DSP has been a match made in heaven, so to speak, for us and from a business standpoint. So it's just been fantastic to work with them and combine our two different products that work so perfectly together.
Hey Scott, Dan had a question. He was asking if we're hearing the V1 or V2 ceiling mic.
You are hearing the V1.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
And just as a side note, the second version will sound the same. Again, the only difference being the Dante and power over Ethernet rather than having a separate power supply line.
Got it.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, I think that's
that concludes it, guys. So thank you so much for stopping by. If you have any other
one more question.
I don't think so. I think that was just a thank you for responding.
Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, that concludes. If you have any more questions, please contact us. You know how. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Scott. Enjoy the weather.